introduce the panel.
Hey, how y'all doing, guys? This is the Afro Summit, and we have our boy Nick, and at the top corner, we got our boy. How y'all guys doing? You know, it's usual business. We got MJ, we got Mental Agility, we got my boy Howie out there, chilling. I got the little hat on, looking smooth. We got Anna. We got. Well, I don't even know how to say your name. I'm gonna skip you. We gonna skip you.
Dreams be changing his name like every 2 seconds, man.
Every 45 seconds.
Bro, this is my legal name, bro. This is my legal name. This is Ibrook
We don't know.
Ajamo Chike Palmer, but Ajamo is a African name, bro.
This man
Talk
got
to
more
my dad
aliens
about
than
that,
the
bro.
Congress of
Talk to my dad
Diego.
about that. That's my government name, bro.
Yeah,
Ajamo.
he got a new one
It
every
means
day.
fighter.
Though.
It means fighter. Yeah. It's my name,
He
bro.
got a
What
new
I'm gonna
name
do?
every day. I'm telling you, he got a new name every day. The new name gonna be the unknown one, the untouchable. It's gonna be something new. And then we got
I used to go by Prince of Peace, but I stopped doing that now. You know, I've been on YouTube too. Been in and out.
I like Ajamo better than Prince of Peace. Ajamo is better than Prince of Peace.
Respect.
All right, and I gotta say your name, Kaya. I can't, bro. I can't. The guy that's directly under me. I can't. How you say the name?
Kian.
Kian.
His name is Kian.
Kian. All right. And we got our boy Kian. See what I'm saying? Came in with the cowboy hat. He ready to lead us through the forest. He gonna lead us to victory. God damn it, bro. He gonna lead us to victory. So welcome to the Afro Village podcast. We gonna get it. Gonna have a nice time, smooth things, and we gonna learn some things and hopefully put some things to rest and then some new things come to light. Yeah.
Well, first off, how's everybody's weekend before we get started? How's everybody doing?
Blessed. Chilling, cooling.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the week doesn't end. Just another day in the week. You have customers as usual, so it's going good. It's popping off, you know.
You got customers.
So it's business as usual.
It's just business as usual, bro.
Usual business as usual, boy. That's how we do it out here, man.
I need to test some dog meat, huh? Dog meat at Big Dreams, huh?
I don't think my customers are ready for that. I don't think they're ready for that at all.
That's crazy.
Oh man, wait, where you're Nigerian, where you need them at? All right.
All right. Cool. Glad that everybody's doing good. And this is episode 2. We made it to episode 2. Episode 1 was cool. I watched it. Did anybody else get a chance to check it out? Play it back?
Yeah,
about half of it, bro. You know, I got things to do, bro. I'm trying to be a millionaire by the time I'm hit 40. So
okay, all right.
Yeah, I listened to it. My apologies to the group, man. Yeah, it was awesome on my end.
Listen, this is it's expected. It was the first episode, so I already knew that everything wasn't going to be firing off on all cylinders. I expected that, but the fact that we all mic'd up, well, those of us who got up on the panel and contributed to the conversation, I'm thankful for all of you guys for contributing and just getting getting the show up and off the ground. We got to start somewhere. So, and then we sharpen ourselves and get better from there. So, all right, cool. So
we need to get Muse up real quick. I don't know.
Did she drop down?
Yeah, she our internet. She be fighting her internet connection out there in the wilderness. So,
damn.
Oh man.
Yeah, just get her back in the lobby and she should be fine.
Hold on, let me see if she's even. Okay, here I'm bringing her up.
Y'all remember, bro? She deep in the jungle, bro. She deep out there in Uganda, man.
Oh my god. I'm not.
So we got the first stereotype so far. So African Americans apparently think that Africans on the continent are out there deep in the jungle. So that's one strike against you guys here.
But she definitely is though. What are you talking about?
Why are you talking about me like that? I heard what you said, Malcolm. Malcolm, I heard that you said.
Well, when you see me next time, we'll just fight about it.
We heard what you said twice.
Yeah, Muse. I don't know. You must be next to some speakers or something because we got feedback.
Let's try this again. Everybody mute up.
Let me see. Okay. All right. All right, so the echo is gone now, and you guys can hear me clearly, correct?
Yeah, I think she's muted now, so I think it is her
it's
connection
probably
or
her
whatever.
connection, bro. She got them,
All right, and then where'd Mental go? Oh shit! What everybody dropping down?
There you go. There you go.
I don't know what happened, man. It just. I tried to mute my mic because I heard that echo, and then I got kicked out.
Over here.
Bro, you better pay that bill, bro. You better pay that them light bills, man.
We know his internet good.
Okay. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and kick off episode 2, y'all. There was some banter of sorts a couple of days ago in the chat where there was just a lot of, I don't know, there was a lot of misconceptions being thrown around. A lot of assumptions, bro. Accusations. Yeah, I don't want to say misconceptions. Yeah, accusations and just assumptions in regards to Black American men and fatherhood. And somebody was in the chat saying, quantifying their findings on the notion simply off or based off of what did she say? Reality television or something like that?
Man, yeah. It was maternity court, bro.
Maternity court.
Paternity court, right. She's something about, I just know Black American men don't take care of their kids because, well, paternity court. I was watching paternity court and it said so. And I'm like, what the fuck? What is going on? And then it just kind of like spiraled from there. The conversation, because then we ended up getting into like military and American being Howard. You remember that part? Americans being cowards or whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, bro, I ain't fighting nobody. I'm shooting everybody. What are you talking about, bro? I ain't playing no game. I live in the South, boy. You getting that bullet, boy. So
there was just a lot going on. So I thought, you know what? How about we just address the elephant in the room, which is the title of this episode, and just go ahead and have the conversation and get everything on the table, and let's see if we can just come to a base point of understanding, right? So with that being said, it's important to recognize that Africa is a vast and diverse continent with numerous ethnicities, cultures.
America is evil. Straight up.
Okay, who's talking right now?
Keon.
Yo, what's up? What's happening?
Hold on. Let's get it.
I'm trying to set the tone for the episode.
We all know America is evil, but before we reach the point where America is evil, which we all know, let us give the proper due diligence to saying Africa is a very large and diverse. You can continue, Sir Nick.
I'm about to say, let me set the tone, and then y'all can talk y'all shit. I'm gonna start over. It's important to recognize that Africa is a vast and diverse continent with numerous ethnicities, cultures, and countries. So it's not accurate to generalize how all Africans feel about African Americans or vice versa. Similarly, African Americans are a diverse group with their own range of opinions and attitudes towards Africans. Feelings and perceptions can vary widely among individuals, and there isn't a single uniform sentiment. So I'm going to read off some positive and negative perceptions from both, the Africans' point of view, and then those of us within the diaspora, our point of view. And then I got some questions that I'm just going to go ahead and throw out, and then I'll let you guys have at it. So Africans' views on African Americans, right? So some positive perceptions. Many Africans have a positive view of African Americans. They may admire their achievements in various fields, such as music, sports, and civil rights activism. But some Africans see African Americans some Africans see African Americans as allies in the struggle against racism and discrimination. Negative perceptions. On the other hand, some Africans may have negative stereotypes or misconceptions about African Americans, which can be influenced by media portrayals and limited exposure to accurate information, right? There can be misunderstandings or misrepresentation about African American culture, values, and socioeconomic status. So, and the indifference here is for many African Americans may not be a significant part of their daily lives, and they may not have strong feelings one way or another. Now, on our side, here within the diaspora, some positive perceptions. Some African Americans have a deep sense of connection to Africa and may feel a strong cultural or ancestral tie to the continent. They may have positive perceptions of Africans and their diverse cultures. African Americans interested in their genealogy might even explore their African roots. Now, here's some negative perceptions. Like any group, some African Americans may hold negative stereotypes or misconceptions about Africans. These can be influenced by limited exposure to African culture or inaccurate media portrayals. Some African Americans and Africans engage in a positive cultural exchange, celebrating their shared heritage and learning from each other's experience. So now, with all of that being said, I have several questions that I'm going to go ahead and read off, and then I'll let you guys dive in and dissect accordingly. So with that being said, what are some common preconceived notions that African Americans have about Africans?
I got like 32. Start off with the first one though.
Go ahead.
The first one is that they live in like with huts, which is not necessarily true. But I have heard people say, don't they live in huts? And I'm like, no. Not everybody lives in huts. Somebody in a rural village may have a hut, but that's no different than your grandmama necessarily who got a house out there in the country and she live in her little shack. So that's usually the first one that most people have. What else? They all speak the same language, which is, a wild statement, but they think everybody out there speaks one language. So you have the people who will say, "Don't they speak African?" And I'm like, they speak African, but that's just one of like 45 I got off the tip of my tongue. But let's just go with that right now.
All right. Anybody else?
Yeah. So one of the biggest misconceptions that Americans have is that they think Africa is a country, right?
Yeah.
And another one is that they think all of Africa is considered third world. They don't understand that certain countries within Africa are very developed, other than South Africa. When, for example, people were asking me, why are you going to Africa? And I would just look at my skin, like, are you serious? And they were like, well, are you going to have to fight off lions? No, man. And so like for my work colleagues and stuff, I started showing them videos of Nairobi and how it is developed and they have skylines and modern transportation, roads, hard unpaved roads. It's kind of like it opened up their minds to it. So I think a lot of it is ingrained in ignorance, to where they don't even and all the information is right there in the palm of your hand. You look at it every day, just Google, go to YouTube or something. But they choose to stay ignorant because it's the path of least resistance.
Well, from my perspective, the people in my country normally see Africa as a place like what Mental Agility is talking about, where there are huts, and oftentimes you have to be running away from lands and stuff like that. And it's in large because of media, and not just news media, but also Hollywood, where they show us films such as The Gods Must Be Crazy, which you call Yankee Zulu, and Mr. Bones, those type of films where they depict the Bushmen as being primitive, and that's all we saw of Africa. We did not see the skyscrapers and stuff like that. And then as time went on, we saw Nollywood, and in the initial phases of Nollywood, there was a lot of witchcraft. So then Africa was associated with a lot of witchcraft then. So even though it was developed and seen as these people are practicing a lot of iniquity. That was one phase of our perception of them. And then there was Boko Haram. People see Boko Haram and associate Africa with piracy, with terrorism, stuff like that. So it's the way how media shows or depicts Africa to us in my country, at least.
I think he missed one also important movie. Well, I think it's Blood Diamonds. Like I don't know.
Yeah, for real. Blood Diamonds. Yeah, for real. That's an important one for real. That's how we see it as well.
Yeah. If you see Blood Diamonds, you really think it's just everybody's out there just absolute suffering 24/7. You running, there's like a little 5-year-old with an AK chasing you throughout the village, through the town on a boda. Like that's how they really make it seem. Like I promise you, like you out there.
Hotel Rwanda as well? Or am I
Yeah,
making
that
stuff
one
up?
too. That one too.
Yeah. They love that one. They love that movie. So they show only negative portrayals of Africa generally at any given time. It's never anything good. If it's something good, it's usually like, oh, this one guy was smart, but he lives in absolute poverty, and he's and this was his way out. And to give you the sad American Black American story, like you know what?
Oh,
He was
Malcolm, you know what we're missing? Malcolm, hey, as usual business, you know what we're missing? The most important thing we're missing is the whitewashing of ancient civilizations, because like there was this movie, this trilogy called The Mummy Returns and Scorpion King, when they vilify Imhotep and they show him as someone that is basically the devil. And what we come to know of Imhotep is total opposite of what Hollywood is trying to portray our venerable ancestors as. So even things like that, it goes very, very deep in how media portrays African civilizations.
Oh, you forgot the one movie. Was it the Egyptian guys, bro? You got Egyptian guys.
Yo, I know what you're talking.
Everybody's a full Caucasian, bro.
Man,
That
I was
movie
just
was
about
terrible,
to.
though.
I was about to sound off on that one. It was a terrible
Gods
movie.
of Egypt, yeah, for
movie.
real, for real.
Highly inaccurate.
And Cleopatra, that was another one, bro.
I would say
awful movie, awful
go ahead,
movie.
my bad. I would say from my perspective, I'm African, but I've lived here for a long time. I came here on vacation. I got stuck here because the civil war broke out in my country. And I'm from Liberia, which is right next to Sierra Leone with the Blood Diamonds and so on and so forth. So although that was a bad portrayal of what was going on, it actually was kind of thick over there as far as child soldiers and rebel soldiers and so on and so forth. But when that's all you see, you tend to think that that's all that exists. I would say as far as stereotypes, I experienced stereotypes firsthand when I first got here, and I got here when it was really joke time in the 90s. So I heard African booty scratcher. I heard you too light to be African. Why don't your food stink? Why don't you stink? I heard y'all don't believe in deodorant. One of the most, I would say, like, and it's not even hurtful. None of it was really, it didn't bother me. I roll with the punches. But what I will say is one of the most eye-opening things I realized when I would look at the maps are printed wrong. Africa is misrepresented in its size. So if you look at the United States or North America on a map and you look at Africa, they look roughly the same size, almost, North America and Africa. But Africa can fit the United States 5 times over in it. So just automatically the way that Americans are taught to visualize Africa is less than and smaller than it actually represents or than it actually is. So that leads to a whole bunch of shit. But that's my perspective and what I see.
So I would say this right here. I think it's the movies and stuff, like a lot of that stuff does happen. You can go to the Congo and all those other places, but I think it's overly embellished. And I think a lot of times it's overly embellished to bring awareness to certain things, like that movie Blood Diamond, because right now the big push is cobalt, and in the Congo it's going crazy over there to get that the mine that cobalt so you can have your smartphones and your electric cars and stuff like that. When I was in Djibouti, I did see the mud huts. I did see the generators outside the mud huts, and but it was like on the outskirts, So
right.
There is some truth in a lot of the movies, but that's not like the most popular places, that you hear about, the Nigerias, the South Africas, and so on and so forth.
I agree with that.
Well, actually, it was Nollywood that opened a lot of persons' eyes that there were skyscrapers there in Nigeria. Before Nollywood, the advent of Nollywood, all we thought that was in Africa were huts. So before Nollywood, that's when people in my country specifically started to be awakened to civilization in Africa, because we didn't know a lot about South Africa more than apartheid. So that just was a white people country. But for places like Nigeria, it was Nollywood, because before Nollywood, we know of Hotel Rwanda and Blood Diamond. And if that's the only thing you see about Africa, you would not necessarily want to return to Africa, because if every country is having a civil war at all times, there's no stability. Why would I want to leave the comfort of America, despite all the oppression from other people groups, and come to Africa where people are losing them lives over simple things like diamond and shine gemstones and minerals? You wouldn't. You would just see that and say, no, let's just avoid Africa, because if you land, the moment you land in Africa, you will either die from civil war, malaria, or something of that sort.
I remember seeing this was like back in the 90s. They would play commercials or infomercials where it goes something like, if for like 5 cents or something, you too can save this African child or some shit like that.
Don't forget the fly. That would always be flying
the
around.
flies. Remember those, and the
find the
ticks and
most,
everything.
Bro, they would go and find the most desolate area.
That fly should have his own YouTube channel, Instagram.
Hold on, they
the African fly.
Man, I used to see that, and I'm like, why? I have no desire. Me, just as a kid, I'm thinking like, I have no desire to go there. Is this what is really popping off in Africa? Like, people are just poor and they ain't got no shoes on, or they got all these white people out here trying to save them and feed them just canned goods and all this crazy shit. So that's what they were feeding us back. Oh, we got echo again. Mic check. Okay, we good. No, but that's what was being fed to us. You know what I'm saying? And I just remember as a kid going like, damn, that's crazy that they're actually out there living like that. Like that isn't some place that I would want to go ever. So yeah, a lot the media, the American media definitely played a part in how they would frame Africa and show us what was going. Well, it wasn't going on, but again, that's what that's what a lot of us thought. At least that's what I thought, and they would play those commercials like all the fucking time. So
every day like clockwork, you would get home, you would watch some cartoons, and there you go. That little African fly was just flying right past the screen. You donate some money. I was like, God damn, like this, I need to go down there and give some money.
Malcolm, I can't hear you very well.
The thing
so I will say this right here, because I had dinner with my aunts a couple of months back, and they came out here to DC for my oldest aunt's birthday. She turned 71, and from the oldest one to the youngest one, which she was 60, for the life of them, they couldn't fathom why I want to leave America and go live in Africa. They just can't wrap their minds around it. It's because it's like,
I say this: old blacks love America. Like older blacks, I be like, why y'all love this place like this? They did the worst to y'all, but they be like, oh, I ain't leaving. I'm like,
it's my good old home. I'll be like,
I was with a girl once, and I was taking her out. I said, where did you want to go? She wants to go to Paris. Most black people want to go to Paris, Spain, European countries. There's never one that you question and they say, you know what, I want to go to Africa.
Right.
Most girls, if you invite them to go to Africa, they will leave you on the spot right there, because they know not.
Trash. It's one of the dirtiest cities in the world. It's trash.
MJ,
like,
man, you definitely on point with that, because it took me. It's the way that they were propping up. And when I found out Paris was actually a nasty, trashy ass city,
trash. Like that's where I think that's where all the rats in the world came from.
Oh. Yeah, that's why they made the movie Ratatouille. That's why they make Ratatouille.
It's trash.
Trash in Paris. Yeah.
All they eat is dirty cheese. Never mind.
Just a quick question, yeah. Just a quick question, guys. Yeah. So this goes to the Americans. Yeah. So you said. Most of the things you said were negative, negative perceptions. So I want to ask, did you ever see anything positive in the media or anything? Did you have any conceptions that maybe something good comes out from Africa, or everything was negative?
The Lion King. That was about as positive as it got for me.
I'll admit,
we didn't have any. They weren't teaching us anything in school about like anything about Africa other than the bullshit that they taught us, right? And we damn for sure wasn't getting any like books or television shows. There was nothing that would anchor towards like, okay, this there's a positive here. It was always negative from my lens, anyways.
The first positive portrayal of Africa was probably Remember the Time Michael Jackson with Eddie Murphy in the video and black characters playing the roles of the ancient Egyptians. That was probably the first. And Eddie Murphy again with Back to America or Back to Africa.
Coming to
Yeah, I
America.
think that thank you for the correction. Coming to America 1 and 2. Those were the first two positive portrayals of Africa, and it's only recently that we had the Black Panther series that really brought Africa to the forefront. But apart from those few and very far between scenarios, according to Hollywood, Africa is backwater. So to answer the question, no, not really.
I don't know if y'all remember.
Damn.
I think it was a movie came out in 1990s or 19 somethings. It's called Shaka Zulu. I don't know if y'all remember that. I remember that's the only
vaguely.
I seen Shaka Zulu.
I remember that movie when I was a kid. My mom was like, "You gotta go watch this movie." And I was just like, "Why this man ain't got no shoes on?" Like that was my first thought as a kid. But when I watched the movie, I was like, "Oh, this is interesting, right?" So that kind of, for me personally, that was one of my first positive portrayals. But even then, it was like a backhanded compliment because every time that people did something great, they'd be like, "Oh, they attributed it to just the accident of the Europeans, not the fact that they actually got outsmarted, they got outplanned or anything." It was always, "Well, the Europeans just did this wrong, so that's why the mistake happened." So, but that's about it. You got like 4 movies for y'all: Lion King. What else we got? Shaka Zulu. What else?
Coming to America.
Yeah, Coming to America, and the Michael Jackson videos. That's all they got. That's all you got in my entire lifetime. That's all I got.
I would say by like 2010, maybe between 2010 and 2012,
there was Prince of Egypt too.
Oh yeah, I started to notice perceptions change a little bit by 2010, 2012. Instead of people being like, "Oh, you African," it started being more of a curiosity, like, "Oh," and then it turned into like, "Oh, like I heard some of y'all are rich." So I guess people were starting to run into some Africans that were well off by 2010, by 2012. So instead of, "Oh, I heard you don't wear deodorant and this and that," it started turning into like, "Oh, like I heard y'all are rich. Some of y'all are rich. You must be one of those rich Africans," because they started realizing that some of the Africans that had come over here in the 90s, their kids made something of themselves. They were kicking ass in school academically. They were getting money, a lot of them. And I think that created something that every American respects: money. It created a wealth class in Houston. If you've been to Houston, you see the Nigerians in Houston. They're the richest, fastest growing wealth base out of all communities in Houston. And over here in DC, the Nigerians, the Ghanaians, they all work in tech or medical or pharmacology. So it's ideals and thoughts started to shift. And once that happened, I will admit Black Panther shifted as well. It started shifting things, and now it's at a space where I want to say, if y'all remember, and I wasn't around obviously, but y'all remember the 70s when Black people started shifting towards being more Afrocentric and wearing dashikis. I feel like it's shifting back towards that. History is repeating itself 30, 50 years later, where African Americans are now moving back towards, you see a lot of women going natural or wearing braids. So I'm seeing a huge difference. And then also what I know, and some people are seeing, Africa is economically one of the fastest growing. It's actually the fastest, not one of. It's the fastest. It's experiencing the most economic growth exponentially, about 5% on average every single year or every single quarter. I can't remember what the numbers were. So not just Black people, but white people are seeing it too. And they're starting to go and invest. They're starting to go and buy land. So it's incumbent upon us to talk and discuss so we can lock them the fuck out and keep our money.
Yeah. But the thing about that, MJ, is they weren't under the same delusions as we, because white investors were always going to Africa. Even Trump was saying that, hey, his friends are invested in Africa. That's what they've been doing a long time because they see the opportunity while telling lies to us. And you should like be aware of the fact that we weren't taught about African history at all at school. We were taught in my side of the world that history started when Christopher Columbus discovered a place that people were already living in. And we were over here, and only thing we were shown was like the slave trade that we had no history outside of that. So we were just here, domiciled in these plantations, and this is all our people were known for, being of servitude to our next set of people. We weren't ever told about Mansa Musa. We weren't taught about the kingdoms of Zimbabwe, the pyramids. We weren't taught that we had religions, customs, languages, and stuff like that. Only thing we saw was like roots, slavery, Kuta Kinte, and that was the highlight of our civilization at the time. Slavery, rebellion, and the climax of our civilization was getting freedom. We did not know that we were inventors, we were explorers ourselves, a lot of things like that. So we began from a point of ignorance for the most part, and the lies that we were fed, the propaganda that we're still being fed today in a large extent. But we don't have any excuses though because we have the internet. So
I believe the internet, along with a lot of people of color getting passports and traveling, and instead of believing what you saw in the movie, go see for yourself. Go to Nigeria. Look at the islands they have where it's all these $1 million homes and everybody's rich. Go to Uganda. Go to Kenya. Go to these places, and when you see them, you'll say, "Wow, I've been misled." And then spread the word. Do a vlog. Document what you're doing. Because oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Malcolm.
No, I'm
sorry,
Nick. Go ahead, MJ. I was cutting you off. My bad.
Well, I would just say the more we communicate, the more we travel, the more we exchange culture and ideas, it's just going to open everyone's eyes.
Yeah.
See, all right. The thing with that is, I don't think they see the cost versus reward, because it costs quite a piece of change to get on a plane to go to Africa. It's actually cheaper to go to like London or Paris than it is to go to Africa, and I think that's for a reason. So you know how we are economically. We're not on the top, so they want to spend their money. They want to get their money's worth, in their opinion. So that's going to be a hard hustle for them to actually go experience that. I think ultimately a lot of our people are going to remain closed-minded.
But closed mouths never get fed, though, and that's we know that saying. But just like I think with, like you said, mental agility, right? Like getting on the plane and going to Africa is probably one of the most expensive things you can literally do. I can literally right now leave from my state and go all the way to Japan, which is on across the world. Like this is literally all the way across the world. And I can do that for $1,200. The same money it would take me to go to Uganda, I think it would probably be like almost $1,800.
Yeah, I was gonna say double that.
Don't go there Christmas time. Christmas time, everybody trying to go. So but it's those small level of things that just make it very, very difficult for you to actually to go to the continent. Which, like you said, it is by design, because ain't no way in hell you can tell me I can go from here to Japan, but I can't go to here to Uganda for the same money. So
Well, I do agree with that. Oh, go ahead.
Truth be told, Uganda. Truth be told, the distance from Uganda to where you are is probably the same distance from where you are to Japan. When you look at the size of the oceans, and addition to that, you'd have to cross the Sahara. So when you look at the real geographical distance, it's not like how you're seeing it on the map, bro. Africa is a big continent, so you have to cross the Atlantic and cross the Sahara to get to the east side of Africa. Whereas depending on where you are in America, you would have to probably just cross a small desert and the Pacific Ocean, and you're already in Japan. So it's comparable.
So the distance is, I would even negate the distance. What it is the frequency of travelers and how much money and the airlines. So the more people go back and forth, the more there's a need. Business laws would have to dictate that you can lower costs, the more the need arises. So the more African Americans and Africans travel back and forth, they'll say, wow, this is necessary. We need to build new jets. We need new planes. Let's call China or call Russia or whoever they're calling these days, and let's build more planes, because this is a travel that's happening so often that we don't need to charge an arm and a leg, because the trip is very often. So then it'll ultimately become cheaper. The government, somebody will yield and build the infrastructure if they see the need. Wherever there's a need, there's going to be, a way.
And to add to MJ's point, I second that, because I went to Nairobi the first time in June, and I had 2 8-hour layovers there, and I had an 8-hour layover there and back. And to add to business as usual point, I'm going back during Christmas time and only have 1-hour layovers. So yeah, that's a valid point.
Yeah, definitely valid point.
It will have to take a change in the mind of the diaspora, though, to think that supporting Africa, visiting Africa, is more luxurious than visiting Europe, because the thing where other people save their money and invest in places that are of their ancestors because they see the value in that. First, Africans would have to see the value in going to a place like Uganda before you can have the culture of people wanting to go to Uganda. Everyone wants to go to Paris because Paris is promoted. Europeans know why they go to Paris. They're supporting their own people. That's why they go to Paris. But why are we so drawn to European tourism? What is there that we don't have in our continent? And our continent is not that promoted even among our people, because we don't see what's happening in Uganda for the most part. We don't see what's happening in Morocco, Casablanca, those places. The things and the images that I'm seeing from Uganda is way more attractive than Jamaica, which has 4 million stopover tourists, versus Uganda that has just over 1 million, versus the amount of people that are there. So it's promotion. We don't see that in the West. We need to see what's available first. They need to get it in front of our eyes. And a lot of that is about corporate interest. So when that happens, the flight prices can go down.
All right.
Just a quick question. Just a quick question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So before we can shift to the Africans' perceptions of Americans, can we? I need to know. I'm just curious. Like, what is the percentage, or how many? What's the percentage of African Americans in the U.S.? 12%? Is that
16
or 40?
About 30%. Yeah, about that. Yeah.
We make up about, I'd say, 13-14% of the population.
13.
It's about 16%.
Oh, is it 16?
Yeah, you're looking about 20 million, 25, probably 30 million people. Thereabout, or just above that.
We make up a small percentage of the population. It's safe to say that.
Okay, so my question is, what percentage of that 12% you think maybe their perceptions have changed of Africa? What is the current trend? Is it increasing? Is it reducing? What can you say? If I know you haven't visited all the Americans or the Black Americans in the US, but the people you know who are Black, how many of them have positive views of Africa? And what do you think the future will be maybe in the next 10 years? Yeah.
If you're asking me, like, okay, my family like weird that way. Like, I got like half my family is like Huey from the Boondocks, and my other half the family is like Uncle Tom from from the Boondocks. So literally,
Uncle Ruckus.
So half of them be like, "Oh, you going to Africa? That's a good thing, man. That's a good thing." And I'd be like, "Oh, okay." The other half is, "Why the hell you going over there? They gonna steal from you." And they did steal from me when I got here, though. So that was so they was both right. But it was okay though. Like I said, I'm still mad about that 5 shillings for the tomatoes, but it's okay though. I'm gonna let that slide.
So I think it's a generational thing. As far as boomers and Xers, you're gonna have a hard time converting them unless they've been in the military or they've been avid travelers. Millennials and Zs, their perception of Africa has changed significantly because of the advent of social media.
Yep. And then when you have figures like Akon selling Africa in the way that, because you see how he talks it up, and then I'd say shit with Afro beats that just blew up out of nowhere out here, and then you have folks that are going. What I'm noticing is that you have folks that are actually going over to Africa and seeing it for themselves, like just putting boots on the ground and just getting their own, um, uh, garnering their own experience, and then coming back and sharing those experiences. There's like plenty of YouTube channels of Black American expats that are over there just living life and literally showing you like what life is like in Africa. So I think that I think the trend is slowly getting up there. I still got a lot of work to get still got a lot of work to do, still got a lot of us over here to you got to convince and wake up to the notion of going over to Africa and checking it out. But there's also, on the other hand, still a lot of us that are just like Mental was saying, you're just going to have a lot of closed-minded folks that are just simply not interested.
You know what
I think,
I say?
can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Anna.
So I may not necessarily touch on like misconceptions right now, but I've realized there's so many what you want to call Black American people, or like African American, I don't know what the correct term is, who come to Africa, and even then, like even when still they get here, they are still very unaware of African being or Africanness, you know. They're still very I don't want to say whitewashed, but like extremely westernized to a point that as much as they love Africa and they're interested in their culture and tracing their roots, they're still extremely off. And I mean, it's props to those who try and get down here and like try to figure it out and relate. But even then, you still find small traits of whiteness within them, maybe how they speak to like waitresses, because down here we have culture, like we still do have that, and it's being held on to so tightly, which is what defines a lot of what we are. So when people come back home, they still don't figure it out. So maybe my plea would be for Black people in America. I don't like using Black American because I don't think anything like that exists. You're either American or African or Asian, whatever. So I would like maybe to just plea for Black people who live in America to maybe learn their culture.
About diaspora, so it don't really matter. You can go either one.
Right, yeah, yeah, in the diaspora, right? That's right. Maybe to learn their culture instead of coming to see it, because seeing it still makes you a tourist, still makes you an American. You're still the same person, just around people with dark skin like you, or around more dark skinned people like you. So maybe it's a call for action to just start reading books about your culture, man. Like someone like a Jamom, or someone who, if you have like an African name, or you have African roots, or you have African aunties, get familiar with the food and the way we greet people. Because I see girls, American girls, Black American girls, who come back home and they will look at cow dung in a very disgusting way, and that ends up disrespecting our culture. Because if you claim to be a Black African person and you're in Africa and you find cow shit disgusting, there's something very extremely wrong with you. Because for us, cow shit is dye for hair, it's it's building blocks for our houses, it's soap, it's so many things. So even when you come back home and you appreciate the culture and you're wowed by it, and you're constantly on Instagram and you're blowing dollars in people's faces because you went to the village, but you have no idea what the culture in the village is, African people still feel discriminated against. Because it's like, now, oh, okay, I thought you were going to be cool, but now you have a problem with me being barefoot. Because as African people, I digress, we're actually supposed to have our feet touched down. We're not necessarily supposed to wear shoes 24/7. And those are for health benefits, or like energies from the earth, the sun, blah blah blah, all that crap. So when people come back home and they look at and they see cultural practices, and those cultural practices are sexualized, they're fetishized for social media. It's like, oh wow, I was in the motherland. Hey guys, look, I touched a cow's horn. It's still very insulting, even if you came back home. Even if you constantly come back home, it's still very insulting for the people who that cow is a livelihood for them. So maybe just coming back home is not enough. Like, learn the culture, understand that when you see people, I actually see white men doing this more than black people do. White American people do this more than black American people do. White American people will come and will literally strip themselves of their iPhones, their swag, their, fancy dancy onesie vibes, and they will be barefoot and they'll wear our kangas and they will eat our shitty food. But black American people will come, hang out with their aunties during the day, and then in the night, wear their sneakers and their J's and head out to the club and, cash out in USD and use their platinum cards and then come back home and say, oh, I was in Africa, motherland, Wakanda, all that. How are we changing the narrative if the same people who are trying to understand the narrative are sustaining the lack of knowledge of our narrative? I think it will be advisable if guys want to come back home. We love we love when you guys come home because you come with nice things. You come with like nice smelling deal. You come with like different kinds of stuff. But when you come back home, be at home. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like, be at home. When you come home, be at home. Don't come home and have lunch with your grandma, then rent a hotel room at night, a fancy hotel room at night. Then come back during the day in your nice shorts, then go back at night and sleep in your fancy restaurant. That still disrespects us. That still makes us feel like what we have is not enough. So why the hell are you here? If it's not good enough for you, why are you here? You might as well just Google it on YouTube. Like, why would you want to come experience it halfway in bits, just the parts that you find interesting enough for your Instagram?
I would like to say something in regards to that.
Hold on. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, so all right, I'm basically neutral in all of this because I'm not necessarily African American and I'm not the continental African either. I'm in the diaspora, but my country goes through most of the same things that African countries go through because it's a majority black country. So that's the same way tourists treat Jamaica, really. They come to Jamaica, they stay in the hotels, they go to the beach and they go back on the plane and they say, hey, I came to Jamaica. They haven't, most tourists has never come to my section of Jamaica, the majority of them. So I can understand most of what you're saying in terms of them feeling better than the interaction that they have. It's like someone from the well-off areas going into the ghettos or going into the marketplace. It's similar to that. So it's a wide cross section, but how I look at it is this: the tourism market is like a business, right? You will have things. You'll have a product, but not everyone will want that product. So even though some people come to Africa, they're not African minded. Most people that you hear talking about Wakanda is just a fad for them. People that understand the greater cultural significance of a Wakanda, they will come to Africa and really go down to the grassroots and understand the culture. They want to understand the culture. So you don't have to necessarily be catering for persons that don't want to feel welcome. However, I can say it would be good to make a better effort of making those who want to feel welcome, because you have some Africans that are very divisive, like saying things like you are not full Africans, you are like bastard children of Africa. You have that attitude between especially the Nigerians. I don't want to single out Nigerians, but on social media I hear Nigerians doing it a lot.
Man,
so that's what I would say for those that want to come back, let them feel at home. Exactly. They're not as welcoming as they think. Yeah.
Talk to them. I was going to add a few things, right? For me personally, like in America, right, there's a couple of things I think people understand. When I go back to Africa, I go back to Africa to learn necessarily. I genuinely go back. When I went back to Uganda, I went to South Africa, I went to a few other places, right? I go back to those places to learn different aspects of their culture. The problem is when I speak to some Africans, they believe that, like I said, quote unquote, we are culturalists. And I'm like, that's where people start necessarily getting it. That's what I'd be like, no, I'm not a little sad little puppy that needs, a warm blanket and a snack. I promise you I'm not. I promise you I'm not. Right? What necessarily, that's what I usually hear. Like I get like a few different kind of people, personalities. You get the people, oh, okay, cool, you come back, that's nice. Then you have the sad puppy people, like, you're a sad puppy, you don't know nothing, right? And then you have the staunch, I don't know how you would call it. I would call them African supremacist people. Like if you wasn't born on the continent, you shouldn't be here. And I'm like, what about your cousin that was born in Europe? Fuck him, he can't come back either though. And I'd be like, ooh, so it ranges though. Like I said, that's what I'm saying. It ranges between personality to personality and people to people though. So it's a mixed bag. You really gotta and what their actually mindset is, especially when it comes to that topic.
Exactly. And before you move on from your point, Malcolm, you made a point that I want to touch on as well in regards to us not having our own culture. So yes, we appreciate African culture in general, and we know that there are a lot of different cultures in Africa. However, it is said that we in the West don't have culture. It was said about the Americans not having culture, but it also applies to us in Jamaica not having culture from the African perspective. You have artists that are practitioners of Afrobeats that are saying our music has originated from Africa, which is not necessarily true. Our music was influenced in large part by our struggles that we went through while on the islands. And while we have African influences that we take with us in terms of like having the drum, which is from Africa, the topics that we talk about is solely based on the things that we went through and our living conditions while in the islands. And while we bring some African traditions such as the maracas, the drums, and so forth, we have a different flavor where we put a certain element to our music. So you can feel the soul, the passion, and the things that we went through that wouldn't necessarily be emanated from Africa directly. So to say that we don't have any culture, yes, we understand that our culture is taken from Africa and assimilated with influences from other parts of the world, because American music, Americans that are said to not have culture, also influence the way how we did music, and then we in turn influence them, and we did in turn actually influence to a large part Afrobeats. So to say that we don't have any culture, we're not cultural, it's also offensive to us. So it's just communication, cultural exchange, and to come to a better understanding that, all right, in this region we do this, over here we do certain things. So it's just cultural exchange, certain barriers that we are yet to break down.
All right.
Yeah,
So can I add real quick? So I got three things.
And then we're gonna roll over into the next question. Go ahead, Mental.
Yeah, so I got three things. One, you have to understand that African Americans or Black Americans have been stripped of their original culture. So when you say to come to Africa and learn their culture, they don't know what their culture is. There's 55 countries inside of Africa, right? So with that being said, they're only going to go off of what they know. These people that travel to Africa are mid to late 30s, early 20s, possibly, but they have spent all of their life indoctrinated into a culture that they was forced to be in. All right. Second, you can't expect for somebody to just immerse themselves into a new culture as soon as they get there. It takes time, especially when it comes to Black Americans that have a loose understanding of culture. Whites, totally different, because they came here, they were always on the hierarchy when it comes to the economic power structure. And to add on to that, they understand culture better than African Americans or Black Americans. So when they go to somebody else's country, they're more willing to adhere to your culture standards because they're familiar with culture standards in general. If you look at the culture of Black America, it's sports, it's hip hop, it's single motherhood, it's blaming the Black man for everything. So and the Black woman is God. That's the culture of Black America when it comes to us. So if you get particularly Black women, because I know that's who you're talking about, right? When they come over to Africa, they already look at themselves as the creme de la creme, the cream of the crop, because that's how they see themselves in America. You can't expect for those people to come to your country and just flip a switch. Nobody really works like that if they don't have a strong understanding of what culture is. So yeah, when they get done celebrating or exercising your traditions and your culture, yeah, they're going to go back to their cell phones. They're going to go put their J's on and things like that because that's all they know.
I'd like to add on something.
You got some echo.
As far as not understanding the culture, we understand that African Americans have been stripped of their culture for a very long period of time. But also, I mean, technology has simplified a lot of work these days, and I understand because the last decade, I think after the Black Panther and Afrobeats, there's been a certain shift and change in the ways how like people in America, Black Americans, are viewing Africa. And if you feel the need of at least wanting to come and visit any country in this place, because it is easy to track where Americans came from, but it is not necessarily so easy to get to know which exact tribe they came from. Because if it is Atlantic slave trade, most of those people who got captured were from the Western side. You understand? That's why I always try to tell my friends, the African Americans, that if you at least want to visit Africa, start with West Africa, because West Africa has a history that you can be able to connect with, especially when it comes to oral traditions. You visit at least one slave castle and go and learn the history of that particular place. It can be either there's one in Elmina, that one is very good. You can even actually just feel the spirit of your ancestors when you go to that place. You go to that place, you go to the slave market. I don't know what the name is, but it's very important for you to go and visit that place just to learn about how the ancestors went through during the Atlantic slave trade. And then now, also, when you're able to maybe understand some of those cultures, do not again come and be wretched. There are two types of travelers. There are travelers who know what they're doing, and then there are wretched travelers, the hood rats. I'm sorry to say it, but the hood rats. They come, and then you go and start twerking in the slave castle.
Hold on, Muse. 1 second, Muse. This is the thing. All right. I still think there is a loss in translation. All right. You see, some people that are in America, they're just like that everywhere they are. It's not a thing about coming to Africa. That's the thing that I want you to understand. We have to deal with them over here as well. So there's not like they act in a way different when they're in Africa. Some people are just like that across the board.
No, I'm not saying they act in a different way, but this is a sacred place. This is where these people suffered. When you understand the history of those slave castles, what those people went through, you can't just go there and start twerking. You can't twerk in a slave castle. That is a sacred place. Those people suffered in there.
Wow.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't twerk from there. So when you come and twerk from there, then it gives a very bad representation of how African Americans behave. And the power of the media is very strong in Africa. Because now you see, like, for us, each time we would watch African American movies, we maybe watch these TV shows, reality TV shows, we are seeing people shouting at each other. There's that single parenthood. You get the point.
Mm-hmm. So I understand what you're saying. News. Yeah, so what you're saying, I'm saying they act like that in Jamaica as well, and it does reach the media in Jamaica as well. So I'm saying it's not something like they're pretending to be something that they're not in Africa. That's what I'm saying. They act the same way when they come down here in Jamaica trying to fight hotel workers. You have even people that have their villas and stuff like that, and they don't want Black Americans there because one person might come and do something that leaves a bad reputation. So it's not African Americans in general. Just like some people have the perception that my country is violent, does not mean everyone in my country does not smoke marijuana. Most persons in Jamaica don't smoke. Most persons in Jamaica don't wear locks. But the perception is that every Jamaican smokes marijuana. It's not true.
The ganja.
Yeah, and I also understood that I started from England. I was at University of Salford. I did business management in marketing. Let me tell you guys, Caribbean Jamaicans in that region do not like associating with Africans. I wouldn't say all of them, but most of them. There is a certain kind of divide that is there between Jamaicans. Jamaicans in the country are cool. But the immigrant Jamaicans identifying as Africans, oh my God, it's like you're causing trouble. So there is a certain kind of divide that is there between Africans, then the Caribbeans, and then the Africans, and then those other blacks in the diaspora. Yeah, because now I would understand the point of African Americans, whereby, well, I wouldn't say they were taught to hate Africans, but it's like we were taught to hate them. You get? For them, in the other sense, they were taught to pity us. Like we are so deprived of basic needs. We don't have running water, food, etc., etc. You get? And it's like everybody all over the world hates African Americans. You get?
It's the same thing in my country.
Everyone all over the world.
Yeah, but it's the same. It's the same here, though. Like,
So-
you have some Jamaicans that are discriminated.
Wait. 1 second. Dreams, your audio is trash, bro. I don't know what's going on, but you gotta fix. You gotta.
trash.
Is it better now? Is it better now?
His trash.
Is it better now?
Has a whole party. That's what happened.
Okay, it's better now. I don't know what you did, but let's keep it that way.
They not
Before it was
I just unplugged the earphones. I unplugged the earphones.
okay. Leave them unplugged because I don't know.
Yeah,
what's going
I'm
on.
saying,
Nich,
it's the same thing here. There's a thing here called classism, right? It's like racism, but not among races, but among a class of people. So the educated people that travel from Jamaica and go to England to study, they think they're better than every other black person. So it's more reflecting classism and that structure there, the hierarchy, to say that they don't want anything to do with Africa. Because in Jamaica, the lighter color skin you are, the more social preference you have in this country. So that would explain why those Jamaicans that are more well off, that are in England or the United States, will try to separate themselves from being African, because being African means that you're black and it means that you're closer to plantation slavery. So that's why they would try to do everything to separate themselves from Africans.
Yeah, but it's not even only them, even Somalis. You know, this whole thing, it cuts across. I mean, these guys studied us for a very long period of time. We try so hard to see how much we keep on being divided. But you see, even Somalis, you find they don't like identifying themselves as black, or even Ethiopians, by the way. Ethiopians, like in those countries who are in the Western world, they don't identify them. They identify themselves as being non-black, like, and it's just really crazy because they find themselves like for example, if those ones in maybe England or those ones in the United States, you find they undermine African Americans because they look at them as they are beneath, like they're enslaved Africans, but like they're beneath. You understand what I'm trying to say? African immigrants.
Yeah,
So
because they're gonna say that we went through something that they don't want to associate themselves with. That's the thing. It's a different classification
so
because there's no such thing as race. Really and truly, there's no such thing as
Yeah.
race. So there's the classification based off what we went through. So no one would want to associate themselves with chattel slavery. So because the Somalians and the Ethiopians did not necessarily go through the same type of struggles that we go through, they would say that they're not black when obviously they have a black skin tone. But saying they're not black is to say they're not African American and they did not go through colonialism. So that's the separation that they're trying to derive from by saying they're not black when they're obviously black people. So that's the difference there.
Can I say something, please?
Yeah,
and then we're gonna move on to the next topic.
Yeah, I think we should move on to the next topic because we're kind of diverging away from the main points. Yeah. So I think we should now hear from the Africans and their perspectives of the diasporians, no, or the Americans, right? What do you think?
Right.
I would love that.
Yeah. So should I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So,
Howie, actually, let me just ask the question real quick, just to put it out there. So, what are some common preconceived notions that Africans have about African Americans? There you go, Howie. Go ahead.
All right. Thanks. So, most of the opinions we actually have of diasporians are mainly positive. Yeah, that's a good thing. You know, most of the things we know are positive. Okay, because we have seen movies. All right, we have seen the way Americans behave, their families. the whole world actually, the movies we see are mainly from Hollywood. So there's a way we try to behave like Americans because we see them as something to look up to, the way they dress, or okay, of course the positive things, not the negative things. Okay, so for example, most people would like to make music like Americans do, act like Americans do, the education system, all right. But nowadays, because of social media and the people who are coming to Africa to visit, the likes of Austin Holleman, the passport bros, our mentalities are kind of changing, So we are now trying to, we're not trying. Nowadays, we have negative perceptions of Americans, okay? Especially Black Americans, okay? So some of the negative perceptions we have of African Americans are that they are proud or arrogant. That's the first thing you can tell from an American. They are proud, arrogant, the way they speak, the way they act, the way they treat other Africans when they come to Africa is just something we see as disrespectful, condescending, patronizing, So, and Americans speak, an American, I've never seen an American who kept quiet when something bad happened, you call it running your mouth in America, right? So they run their mouths, especially the air was calmed, Africans are shit, they're tribalistic, they don't like us, and then they bring back the past things like these are the guys who sold us into slavery. They have that hidden resentment, So the other thing about Americans we see is that they're so ignorant about Africa, very, very ignorant, especially because of what you said about the portrayal of Africa as primitive. They live in the bush, So most of them think that Africa is one country, but this is a continent with 54 countries, different tribes, different languages, That's one thing. So the ignorance, and then also the other thing, the ignorance also goes in hand with the generalization. Whenever Americans comment about Africans, they say Africans and they put us in one umbrella. No, we are different. You see, West Africa is different from North Africa. North Africa is different from South Africa and East Africa. All these regions are slightly different, actually very different, because you have different tribes, you have different languages, different cultures, And yeah, so those are some of the negative perceptions we have of African Americans, and I think most of it has come up because of what people say when they visit Africa. Like I say, the movements of the passport bros and all these YouTubers, especially YouTube, has blown up the negative perceptions. I think you saw the podcast on Freedom Chasers, which was on Kenganda. What happened to those people and the backlash they received. So these are some of the things we are now getting, or we are now learning from the things that have happened. The other negative things, of course, I don't believe in them because that was movies. The drugs, the gun violence. Of course, these are also real because you have mass shootings, the drug-related deaths, and so many other negative things. The police brutality. These things are real. All right, yeah. But let me go ahead and forward the mic to Muse or Anna or Chian to go on.
Anybody else?
I think I'll go because obviously no one else is willing to. Maybe I mentioned already the kind of things I think we already have misconceptions or even truths about Black American. I don't know what to call. I don't know what to call them. Africans in the diaspora. Maybe that's a safer word. Um, so that attitude, I think, what Howard just spoke about, the maybe looking down upon African people, either because our running water is a bit slow, or our government is very corrupt, and then we tend to forget that most of these reasons as to why Africa goes through so many of these struggles are enrooted and engraved in Europe, in European influence, in American influence on our governments, our education system, things like FGM, circumcision of women, things like early child marriage, things like the civil wars that happen in Africa everywhere, every day, every single time. Some of these things have Black American people looking down upon us. I had a friend of mine who is a Kenyan, but gained American citizenship, so he became an American, stayed there for a while. Then when he finally came back home after 13 years, he was completely new. He either was pretending or acting not to understand that we have bad roads. It was like, oh my God, it's so dusty. Oh my God, there's so many potholes. I'm like, nigga, you were born here. We have potholes, we have dusty roads. Like, how is it that somehow just because you smelled AC for 10 years, oh voila, potholes are so bad? And some of those things, when you, and I think this happens with every human being, I wouldn't even fault him. When you taste some affluence, the lower life becomes a bit too low for you. But some of those things, that outright disrespect. Someone mentioned it in the WhatsApp group earlier, talking about our traditional practices, our religious practices. Of course, yeah, we pray under trees in the middle of the night with ash on our faces, and that's how we pray. We hardly praying in churches and synagogues and temples is very new to African people, and we are just embracing it because we need IMF loans. By the way, we we just need we just need NGOs to come into our country and feed our hungry children. So we'll go to church. We have no choice. We are still being colonized up to date. So all the disrespect that comes with all these societal factors and unfortunate factors are, I don't think we would call them misconceptions anymore. I think these are facts of life. Um, um, and someone mentioned, I think it's Nick who mentioned the girlies, the galios, the BBLs, the lace wig girls who come back home, and then it's like, oh my God, that's too much smoke. When our grandmas are cooking for Christmas, and looking down upon us, our teeth are brown, our knuckles are dark, very small things that we can't even change about ourselves. Our noses, like, look at all our noses. Like, just look into your camera and look at your nose. That, if you love your nose, then you love yourself. But when most blacks in the diaspora come back home, somehow our noses become bigger than theirs. Somehow our knuckles are darker than theirs. Somehow our skin is more melanated than theirs. Somehow melanin is not so sexy anymore. Somehow big girls have become fat girls. The white culture, the European culture has made our African culture, or our being African, look so ugly and so bad and so evil. And that's the one thing I despise most about, Black people in the diaspora. I'm out.
Okay. All right, I got a
There's a
question.
mouthful.
Something, guys.
Hold on, Malcolm.
Hello.
Sheila, go ahead.
Hi, guys.
What's up?
Sorry, guys, I'm on my way going back home. I'm happy to be here, be part of you. Actually, about what you're talking about. Before, I didn't know that. Anyway, if someone had never traveled, like let's say you were born, in Uganda here, and you have never traveled, and you meet someone who had traveled before, really you cannot connect. And then when you look at my country here, it's not nice. It's nice, okay, but everything is so disorganized. But when you travel, you see that somehow really there is these people, they live in another world. So I can't really blame Black Americans because they're in another world. We are also in another world. So I can't blame them. Only that the only thing I noticed when I joined this group, when you guys were trying to talk about bride price and all that, it really pissed me off. Because when you look at bride price, it's something that was started a long time ago. And I don't think that us here, because we are smart, we are young, we understand. I don't think that we can really remove it. So I was surprised how you guys were like, no, me, I cannot pay bride price because what if he leaves me? That was the thing that was started long time ago, and I don't think that you can remove it. Even 100 years to come, it will be there, and you cannot change it. So since now you know that we are black, we are Africans, okay, why do you think that you can take away something that was started long time ago? That is actually disrespectful. Why do you think that because you are educated and all that, you know, you can take away or you can change something that was started long time ago? So since we are black and we know that we want to be one, why can't you respect culture? Respect culture, you guys.
Designer, are you upset about that bride price comment because the guys didn't want to pay top dollar?
Yeah, she is.
Hello.
I want 40 cows in a kingdom.
Let me just briefly comment about maybe a brief about I'll speak. Actually, in Uganda, you find we have so many tribes, and even among the tribes, we all have different ways of. Actually, we call it more of parents' appreciation for raising their daughter to the level where a man comes to take her as a wife. So through that tradition, we have different practices, and one of them is bride price. What does bride price mean to the family, the girl's family? It's more of an appreciation, but an appreciation which was put in place to more of a tradition. So you have to appreciate that this lady was raised well, and according to her level of education, the family, they decide on, okay, this is the bride price that we need as a family. Now specifically in our tribe, that is Ankole tribe, it's from Western Uganda. They give it in terms of cows. Why? Because we are cattle keepers from Western Uganda, so we appreciate through cows.
Hey, can I say
Like I
something?
said,
Hey, can I say something real quick?
Point of information. Point of information here.
Hold on.
Because I need to know, does she mentioned education and stuff, but does that bride price come down if you no longer had a virginity?
Oh.
No, it's not about the virginity. It's not about how, as long as you have come and present yourself to the family that you would like to marry this lady, even when you have had children, like from another marriage or something that maybe didn't work anymore, and you have come to take this person as your wife,
I'm next.
and you would like the parents' blessings, you must give bride price.
Shit.
And
hold on. I'm next. I got this.
Did she answer the question?
Hold on, bro.
No, she ain't answered. She said it didn't matter. She said even if you come with kids, you gonna pay that bride price. Fuck out of here.
So technically,
no,
hold on. I got a question. So
yeah.
So the question, if you I'm not gonna say nothing, right? Because we know hoes are universal, bro, right? We got American hoes going to Dubai, bro. We got Spanish hoes going to Dubai, bro, right? You got African hoes going to Dubai, right? So my question is, does the prostitute that go from Africa go to Dubai, does she still get the same bride price, or is she raised the same because did she get a bride price because we know what she was doing over there? So my question is, does she get a bride price to the same? It's the same because you said basically raised off of quote unquote the how the child acts the child that you presented, right? So my question is, what if the child that you presented to the world is, not a good child? Then does the bride price change, or do you not even marry that person altogether? That's the question I want to ask, though.
Like I said, bride price, it doesn't matter how a lady is, the conditions or anything, the lady, as long as you
just pay.
come in,
you almost got a lot of single
I have a
ladies.
question as well when you're finished. I have a question as well.
As your wife, as long as you want to take her as your wife and you have come to the family, it doesn't matter how she is, whether she's a virgin, whether she has ever been married, as long as you want to get married to her and you would like a blessings of the parents, they will ask for bride price. This bride price is determined by the families individually. There are families now, like I was saying, in our region, Western Uganda, the region, different families ask for different cows. They can say, for this lady, can you bring 10 cows or 15 cows, or can you give us 8 cows?
Designer, hold on. Give me a second.
Designer, we need you to land the plane.
Hold on, give me a second. One second. Hold, not so fast. Not so fast. Designer. Not so fast. Point of information.
You have appreciated her.
Point of information.
You would like to marry her.
All right. I understand the culture and I appreciate the culture, right? Someone raised a beautiful daughter. But in my country, we're not cattle farmers like that. 10 cows could basically set you for life. Michael, if you have 10 cows, 2 cows can buy a car. 4 cows can probably get you a decent house. So why not just move the daughter in your house, give her a car, or is it that has to go to the family? Because in our culture, there's not necessarily that. So why should I do away with what's obtaining in my culture and go to something to basically take the wealth away from our future family and pay it back and not pay it forward? That's what I want to know.
Maybe let me say something.
What
Can I
happens?
About this? I have something to say about this.
What happens is
so bride price
is a tradition. It's a tradition for the family. If you come and say, you know what, my husband cannot afford 15 cows. Can you please reduce for him to, 5 cows? And by the way, those cows can be translated to money, It can be like, now here in Uganda, each cow costs about 1 million to 1.5 million. It's very little money in US dollars, of course, because our currency is not the same. It's not so much, but you can, it depends on the family. Like I said, they will not say, if you come from, you don't have money, they will not say, bring 50 cows. No, it depends on the family, and you actually have to sit down, agree together as the man who is marrying the lady, and also the lady's family. You come, visit, and discuss.
Hey, Sheila, can I speak? Yo, I have something to say about this whole thing. Bride price is not viewed like, it's not like a trade, like someone is trading the daughter for cows or whatever. Bride price is really about wooing the family. You have to get on their good terms in one way or another.
Yeah.
Otherwise, these guys are going to say stuff about you in the background, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Continue.
So maybe let me just say something to clarify a few things. Sheila, sorry. So bride price is served differently in Africa from different cultures, right? Sheila spoke about her culture from the West where they give cows. Now, like Kian added, bride price it's not a price tag on the woman. It's not, this is how much it costs for you to marry our daughter. No, bride price is like, so usually if you watch, you can even check on YouTube. There's all these videos that document how women are, taken by the men who want to marry them. So a man will come to the homestead or the home, or like say Kian's family will come to my mother's family and tell them we're interested in this lady, would like to marry her because of dash 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 reasons. And then my parents will maybe front a conversation in the lines of, we've educated her. She used to help a lot around the home. She's been paying school fees for her siblings. She has so many responsibilities in the home. So if you take her away, who is supposed to take care of the responsibilities that belonged to her? So then that's how the conversation about bride price comes in, where the parents, Kian's parents, determine, oh, okay, since your daughter has been doing this for the home, we can compensate her responsibilities. So what will that take? So then my parents will converse and refer and say, okay, so since Anna has been living in this homestead for 26 years or whatever, and she's been doing 1, 2, 3, it's going to cost you a specific amount. Now that amount is not cast in stone. It doesn't have to be cows or goats or sheep or whatever. It can be anything. It can be land. It can be the man offering to further the daughter's education. It can be the man promising to give the daughter a fulfilled life. Bride price can come in so many other forms. Also, like Sheila mentioned earlier, bride price can be bargained. So I can tell my family, my boyfriend or my husband or my fiance is not capable financially to give 10 cows, or maybe he's still in school, maybe he's building a home for us, maybe he's doing this, he has other responsibilities. So sometimes in some cultures, bride price is actually paid in bits. So there's even cultures like in Kenya, there's a culture, the Kikuyus pay bride price until the wife dies, until the woman is no more. That's when you stop paying bride price. So, for example, Kikuyus will every month, the man's family will come home, randomly, maybe bring a stack of sugar, maybe come and send someone to clean the lawn, maybe send someone to fix the roof that's broken, maybe look for one kid in the neighborhood who's a cousin who's maybe struggling with hospital bills, pay off a bill. Bride price never stops in the African culture. So I wouldn't want it to sound like it's a price tag on the
No,
girl's head. Like,
I
this is
actually
how it
appreciate the clarification, I actually appreciate the clarification because it seemed as if it was not necessarily a direct trade for cows, but when you caveat it by saying it's to replace the duties of the daughter that she was taking care of the other siblings and so forth, it gives it more context. However, what men hear is not what you say. What men hear is that, all right, this is a business transaction. That's what it translates as, right? So to get rid of that liability, so basically it's paying off a debt. That's how we mentally calculate what's going on here. So, all right.
She
She
essentially
was
sounds like a bill.
That's
A
true.
lifetime
That's true.
bill.
exactly, it's a bill. So we're clearing a bill
It is a bill.
and
No, 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 no,
we're
no.
basically buying a product. So
No,
it's
no, no,
like a
no, no,
company
no.
when you're no, hold on. I'm just showing you how I'm just showing you how we perceive it, right? So I'm acquiring a company, a very productive member of a company. However, the company has liabilities, and I'm really clearing those liabilities. That's how it sounds. That's what I'm telling you. You're saying
Okay,
something, but I'm telling you how I'm interpreting it.
And then
right.
hold on one second,
I,
one second, one second. That's why I made the joke, because this is where this is coming from, right? I had made the joke about a return policy of sorts. What if she becomes unruly, or she's not the wife that we thought we were marrying or taking in or whatever? Is there a
so
way
to
that
answer that,
we can
They do have
return
a
let
her
me
return
and get all
policy,
of our
though.
to
They do
answer
have a
that,
return
to
policy.
answer that,
Believe it.
a
to answer that,
warranty or
to answer that, Nick. So maybe cultures like in countries like Sudan, in South Sudan, where I am right now, in South Sudan, the woman is undervalued so much so that if the man wakes up one morning and decides he no longer wants to be with her, or for some reason he's no longer interested, he will gather his family and they'll come back up with all the bride price and they'll take it back. The family of the girl will take everything back and return the girl. Some cultures do that. It's just every culture is different. However, bride price is is important in Africa because number one, we don't necessarily believe in the idea of divorce. In Africa, divorce is, again, it roots from the Bible, it roots from religion. We don't believe in divorce. We believe for better, for worse, literally, in sickness and in health, till death do us part, in the literal sense of those words. So, bride price is paid to assure the girl's family that, you know what, I'm going to take care of your daughter, or also I can afford to take care of your daughter. Because if a man would want to take me for a wife and all he has to do is buy me a $5,000 diamond ring, to our parents it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
My
it
question
doesn't
is this: Can I ask one question?
Yeah, sure.
In your culture, and designer, you can answer this too, and Muse, you can answer this as well. What's more important, marrying your daughter off or getting a payday?
All right, Anna, you go ahead and
Marriage.
go.
Then
Marriage, obviously.
my thing is then how relevant is the bride price? Because at the end of the day, your family is asking for a price, and ultimately, I'm going to be there to take care of your daughter once your daughter leaves the house.
So bride price. Maybe let me the men can help me, Howard and Kian, but like the bride price is not necessarily we call it a price because everything
Or
comes
just
at
say
a
diary.
cost. Right, yeah, dowry. Yeah, that's a better word. Yeah. So dowry in Africa is not necessarily a price. It's a commitment. It's for you, for your family and your people and your squad, your boys. Some of these guys actually come with their buddies, like their squad, like their gang. And they say, you know what, you guys come support me. I need to bring this girl home. And now, if you say, for example, one of you guys, if you want to marry a woman from Africa, these are some of the things you will have to go through. Fortunately or unfortunately for you, you'll have to go through that. But the parents actually see more value in a woman whose bride price is high. I'll give you another example in Sudan. In Sudan, the taller a woman is, the longer her legs are, the higher the bride price.
I can
Period.
see that.
Period, point blank. So the taller she is, the more the cows you pay. So in South Sudan, light skinned and short women are considered not white marriageable. They're not considered beautiful enough for marriage. So some of these cultures are not necessarily to, they're just a show of pride of, or like, this is our beautiful daughter and we're not going to give her away for free. However, I'll point out one thing that's very personal, and then maybe I'll drop the mic. From my family, my personal family, my mom refuses dowry from her daughters. She says, if you want to get married, just go, because when you decide to leave that man, I cannot afford to pay him back of everything that I might have taken away from him. So they tell the man, I'm not going to ask you for anything for my daughter, but the moment she's done with you, she is at will to literally step out. Yeah. And now that's what like the new urban, maybe American culture looks like. That's why you guys have like what do you call those agreements people will sign before they get married? Prenuptial
Yeah,
agreements.
prenuptial.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you walk in and walk out with whatever you came in and came out with, as opposed to African culture where a man has to create a home for a woman. So a woman is not meant to do anything with regards to marriage. A woman is just supposed to be ready, ripe for marriage, ready to have children, ready to cook, ready to kiss ass, ready to suck dick, ready to be a wife, basically,
Yes,
to
Anna,
mother
you
his
raised some good
children.
points there, but that's not. Sometimes when we sign up for the agreement, we don't get all those terms in the contracts because when you
Because you
you
don't
marry this.
ask.
No, man, no. That's not it at all. That's why there are divorces in this side and there might be divorces in that side that you have to return the bride price. Because a lot of the times we don't get our ends of the bargain uphold, especially after the marriage, everything changes. When that lady was doing something and then she becomes the wife, all of a sudden she has the handle, now you have the blade, and it all goes south. And then the clause is If you're no longer wanting to be a part of that union, you can just leave. What happens in the West, if you're married, then typically she can get half of your stuff, which is a very bad business contract. Similarly to if you paid a dowry and you didn't have any problem, all of your dowries would have been with the other family, and then you're left with nothing, except in cases where you have to return the dowry. So it's both of them would just be two bad business agreements, in my opinion.
Because you see,
Can I say
as
something
some
real
of
quick?
yeah, sure.
All
Let
right,
me
so
add.
I think
Hold on.
Let me add something.
One second. Howie, you can say what you got to say, and then I want to hear from Muse and Sheila on this as well. So Howie, go ahead, and then Sheila, you go ahead after him.
All right, so I think I think the confusion is between bride price and dowry. So bride price is payment. Sorry, Sheila, I think your mic. Okay.
I just muted it.
So yeah, bride price is paid by the groom to the bride's family. All right, what Anna was saying in terms of cows, in terms of land or houses, or even just money. All right, then dowry is paid by the bride's family to the groom. Okay, so both really pay something. All right, so that's a difference. It's really different, but people confuse these terms. And then bride price is part of the culture or the traditions of getting the woman officially, from the parents' house to your house, all right? So it's part of the culture, and it's not really a business contract or you have to pay this or whatever. That's why you say it is, it's what it's you can bargain over it, all right? And then it's just a form of appreciation of the amount of money the parents put into this child, the way they made high. Some of them are virgins, so you might have to pay more because they kept her away from the bad boys. She doesn't have kids or whatever. So many factors will determine how much you will pay, because like the worth of the woman, right? Of course, women find this offensive because they are treated as property, quote unquote property, which is not really the case. It's just a form of appreciation. And so that when you get a woman, the woman is well behaved, she's kind, she will submit to you, you're the head of the family. So the concept of divorce, you talked about the divorce or where return or you divide the property. It's not really an African thing, all right? The reason for this, you could know that in our fathers or our grandfathers, they courted for a long time, 2 or 3 years or even 5 years, trying to get to know the person, their characteristics, their manners, their mannerisms, whatever. So the concept of breaking up or divorce wasn't really common, because we got time to know each other. But the reason why we have so many divorces, it's because we don't even court each other. You meet through WhatsApp. You exchange contacts, get to know each other maybe for a month. Sometimes you're living abroad, so you don't really know the person. By the time you get into marriage, wow, you find out the person is a cheat. He's a gold digger. I just want you for your money. That's why you have these problems. All right. So that's why we don't really have those return policies, like I said, because of this. But nowadays, I think I heard from there are some Kenyans, some traditions where if something really bad happens and you break up, you will maybe return some percentage or so it depends really on the culture. All right. Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to say. So maybe Muse and Chian can go back to the original topic. Yeah.
I do have one small question.
Guys, let me say one thing as you finalized it. When it comes to, as discussed area, when it comes like, let's say in Western Uganda, we call it actually dowry, as someone said, not even bride price. In Western Uganda, let's say they have asked you to give 10 cows or 20 cows, and they use actually that same bride price you have paid to send away as a giveaway. They don't actually keep those things at all. In Western Uganda, they don't keep them. They use them to make like a party as a giveaway to the lady. And then also, let's say you are still young and you don't have like enough money to start off. In Western Uganda, they always give back. Let's say they have used maybe 7 cows for the function. They will use the remaining 3 to buy stuffs for the lady. They will ask her like, what do you want us to buy for you? Mostly they give them beds, a fridge, anything she asks, outfits, as they know that she's been, in a useful life. Now she's going into marriage, so they give back. So it is actually a sign of respect. Bride price, it's not that they ask to keep or what, but it's a sign of appreciation. As we have said, they don't keep those things. So you guys just take it easy and know that it is not a big deal. It is a sign of, mommy, I'm going with this person. And they also be knowing that actually my daughter is going in safe hands. So it's not that it is an exchange of goods or what, or they're going to be rich with, not really. Thank you. I can stop there. Let me stop here.
Yeah, design. You got backyardigans playing in the background.
Hey guys. Anyway, everybody has, I think, talked more about the bride price. I've exhausted all the points I wanted to make, but I just want to add on one thing. Bride price has actually changed over the years. Like the way how they used to pay dowry way back in the olden days of our forefathers is completely different from the way how it is paid these days. Because I remember my grandmother was actually telling me that my great grandfather, when he was getting one of the women, because he had, I think, over 14 wives, when he got one of the women, he was traveling, and then he got one woman. Yeah, that guy was sharp anyway. He got this lady, and they just exchanged her for alcohol. Alcohol. How do you exchange a woman for alcohol to become a wife? Alcohol. You understand? So now, recently, one of my older cousins was getting married to a woman from Western Uganda. We are from the east. We're from Eastern Uganda. And, in Western Uganda, those people already have very many cows. So they were looking at it like, okay, these people have very many cows. Is there a need for us again to give them more cows? What do you think should be done, like to avoid to avoid us from buying more cows for them? Because it's clear they have more cows, and I don't think they want more. So now they told him to buy a car. So they bought for them, for the family, the parents, a car. And it just goes on to show you that things are quite changed. The guys just talk about these things. It's not necessarily like how it used to be strict.
Okay, I got a question. Oh, she dropped down. Okay, I got a question. Because I heard backyardigans in the background. Did anybody? I heard some type of something. With that being said, does the woman having children affect the dowry?
According to the designer, no. I think she's selling.
Of course it does. It does. It does.
Okay, so can we break that down? I'm totally ignorant, so that's why I don't. I want to know, like, how does that?
So, like, when a woman has a child, some cultures charge you actually for that child. Yeah, some women, some
money to take care of somebody's kids.
Holy shit! What?
No. I think what are you? If I'm correct, and what you're saying is you charge them.
No, they charge you because you get the extra pair of hands, bro.
Are you guys listening? Are you guys listening to learn, or you're listening to argue back?
No, I'm just saying because that makes no sense.
Okay, let Anna break it down.
Right. So some cultures, but I've only heard of one tribe in Uganda that does this. When a woman has a child, they charge you one small calf. So that one calf, it's not part of the bride price. So this calf is brought home to the mother's home, or to the girl's mother's, to the whatever girl's parents' home, and someone has to take care of the calf, just like they're going to take care of the child, if they choose to. And then remember, guys, by the way, no one forces men to marry women with children. By the time you're dating a single mother, you already know this is a single mother. By the time you're proposing to marry her, you already know this is a single mother, right? So when you finally get to a homestead and they ask you for these requirements, you're not supposed to act dumb like, oh my God, I'm going to take care of someone's child. You're already like, playing around with with someone's mom. So like, so they bestow more responsibility upon you because you are already taking more responsibility. So basically in Africa, the more a man can take, the more manly he is. Like literally that's what it is. It's the valor of a man. It defines the ability of a man. So the less a man can take, the less of a man he is in society, the less respect he gets. That's why you hear one of our friends' grandparent had 14 wives because that's how much he could take, and that gives him respect in the society. Actually, to be affiliated with such a man's name is an honor. It's an honor in Africa, because the name has
Oh, that
gone
means we
so
should strive to
far.
have 14 wives. Good point. Good point. Good point.
I
Well,
mean, like, so the point is, if you're financially, mentally, and emotionally able to take care of more than one woman, you should. And this is not even just African culture. Even the Arab men do this. Muslim men do this. If you're able to take care of more than one woman, you should have more than one woman. Plus,
Makes
men
sense.
have more than one
You,
woman
you're
anyway.
talking about taking care of more than one woman. Yeah, but first, you was talking about taking care of a
I was
woman
talking
and
about
her
kids.
kids.
No,
Yeah, yeah.
it's because I had an Andrew Tate reference about dating single mothers, so that's why I digressed. But yes, when it comes to dowry, if a woman has a child, you bring a small calf. But most of the time, maybe 99% of the time, no, you don't get charged any less because she has a child. First,
So
because you knew she has a child.
This is
because that's the same trick they tried to play on us in the 90s, saying that stepdads are good dads. You know what I'm saying? He's not a stepdad, he's the dad that stepped up. Yeah, I'm glad my girl don't have kids. So I'm gonna
I
just
don't
put it
know.
like that.
I think a lot of these conversations usually come out of a place of ignorance because we also have single fathers, guys. Is this like, does
No,
it
we
make
have
sense?
single fathers here too, but it,
Right,
it takes
right.
it takes a
So, so,
whole
so,
lot
so,
but
to
which
get
one
your
so,
out of the
child
two?
from
But
that woman.
which one out of the two is more so on the highlight reel? That's the other question. So that's why I think single mothers are always being propelled into the forefront of the conversation because you don't really hear about, at least I don't, anyways.
because I know for a fact that okay, it might not be a fact, I stand to be corrected, but I know a lot of times when men speak about the struggles they go through, for example, raising a child on their own, having baby mama issues or more than one baby mama issues, men frown upon it. Other men call them weak. Other men disrespect them for that. Yeah, this is true. When a man talks about his mental health, other men make fun of it. So that's why most men will never ever stand up and speak up about, I have this going on, or I have this going on, or I have that going on.
Right.
Because aside from women looking down upon him for that, other men do it. A guy will go tell his fellow guys, yo, you guys, by the way, this woman left me, this woman hits me, this woman is not good for me, she's toxic for me, she makes me use drugs. Other men will laugh at him. They'll start
Right.
calling him weak. Yo,
I
like, why?
understand that, but it's different in America because over there in Africa you can smack. We can't smack over here.
Yeah, here, in some cultures, and not all of them,
Yeah.
of course, now we're urbanizing our traditions. In some cultures, hitting a woman, women actually appreciate men who hit them. There's traditions in Nilotic tribes, Maasai cultures, Kalenjin cultures, where it's a whole party. The whole village gathers around and watch men hit their women, and the women get down to their knees and they appreciate that
What?
because disciplining your woman means you can take care of her. These are some absurd cultural
It's
practices,
not
obviously,
absurd.
to the
Wow.
extreme.
Hey, girl,
I don't.
True.
No
These
comment
are
from
very
me.
simple things to Google.
I'm sorry, Anna. Go ahead.
These are some of very, very simple things to Google, and some of them are ingrained in our culture. But most of these things are fading away because now we have human rights and women's rights and children's rights and all these rights coming up and down. So yeah, for that reason, I don't know if the dowry thing is an issue anymore right now in Africa. It's not even something that's discussed. Actually, by the time a man is asking to marry a woman in Africa, he already asks her, hey, what do you think your parents will ask for? Maybe we should start saving up for that. Nowadays, men and women who want to get married start saving up for their dowry together. They start, building that shit together so that by the time they're finally getting married, say in the next 5 years, like my parents won't bring us issues and they will not stop you from marrying me. So we'll just pay it off our savings and we're good to go. We can just leave. However, now, we are no longer practicing tradition in a way that women are working together with their men to achieve that family setup, that, 10 out of 10 relationship. Right now, maybe we've allowed the men to just do it by themselves, and the women are busy getting the BBLs and, all this feminism. And so many things are happening in our society that we're losing touch with what the essentials of family is. I guess that's why dowry is becoming a very serious conversation. It's because we're running away from traditions, and so they run away from us.
Because I've set my dowry price with me and Irene. We talked about it, and basically the dowry price is going to cover her bills for the next 2 years while we're gone. So, and the price is the price. I'm not negotiating. They're not going to, but it's good enough to where she's going to be very thankful. But another thing that Irene told me, and I don't know if this is in your tradition, Anna, because her mother was not wed, she has to split that dowry with her mother.
Whoa.
Oh wow. Okay, so some traditions actually
Can you repeat that, mental? Can you say that again? I just want to make sure I heard that right.
Yeah, so because her mother was not wed, she has to split the dowry with her mother. So mother and grandmother get a cut of the dowry.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets even crazier. It gets even crazier where there's some traditions out here that so if you say, for example, a man marries a woman and then say, for example, they grow old, but he did not finish paying off the dowry. When the man passes away, his sons, say, for example, you marry me, and then we grow old, we get to 50, and then you pass away, but you hadn't finished paying off my dowry. Because remember, I told you earlier, some cultures pay dowry in bits until the relationship or like, the end of time or whatever. So if you pass away before you got done paying the dowry, our sons are supposed to clear my dowry. They're supposed to go back to my parents, their grandparents, and clear off my dowry because now I belong to their bloodline, their father's name. So these traditions, they become extra depending on what part of Africa. Nigerian culture, for example, at a wedding in Nigeria, once you've married your wife, and you guys are at that reception setting, and it's a party or whatever, the man who's married this woman has to blow money on her, literally chopping the money. They call it chop money. You have to chop money on this girl.
I know exactly
Throw money on this girl until she feels comfortable, until she says yes, it's enough.
What?
This is your wife, yeah.
You got to make it rain on her.
Well,
yes, exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. So yeah, there's so many different practices and traditions that we do, but they're not cast in stone. Most of this, like you heard, mental agility talk about him and his person. It's different for everyone. It depends on how you agree with this girl's parents. Depends on how much you've already planned for her. Depends on your position in life. Depends on what she needs. Some parents don't even need this dowry because they're already wealthy. So like, what will a few $1,000s do for me? You might as well just buy my daughter life insurance or buy her a piece of land, make sure she's comfortable, pay school fees in advance, blah, blah, blah. But there has to be a way to appreciate the parents.
On that same
not a couple of dollars, a couple of $100,000 or
all right, okay, on that same point, like on bride price and these weird cultures or absurd or strange, On the case of paying dowry and someone passes on and then you continue paying the dowry, I heard of a tribe, I don't know, I'm not sure about this, maybe Anna can clarify. There's a tribe where if the man passes on and the woman is still young and is able to have children, the brothers of the husband will take her on. Yeah? Yeah, that is also one of the cultures.
Yeah,
Got that?
that's happening today.
Hold on. So if I marry a chick, right, and then I die by an unfortunate tree accident, my brother gets man, hold on. Okay, I just want to make sure we all
Hey, Freemasons do the same thing. Freemasons do the same thing.
That's true.
You mean take her on as far as her payments are concerned, or take her on?
No, as in you're mine now.
That's your wife. That's your wife.
No. She's not your wife. So what happens is if you marry a woman and then you pass away, so this happens in families that have more than one wife. So where a man married more than one wife. So say there's a family, this is in Sudan and a lot of Nilotic tribes, the northern part of Kenya, the northern part of Uganda, some tribes in Somalia, Ethiopia. So if you, as a man, if you had more than one wife and then you pass away, your son, one of your sons, especially your son from the first wife, is bestowed the responsibility to take care of the rest of the wives. Take care doesn't mean have sex with. It means you become the man because the man is gone, right? So you become the owner of the homestead. You have to make sure everyone is fed, everyone goes to school, the wives are okay, they're not fighting, they're not causing drama, the homestead is perfect. But in very specific situations, the first son, this is going to be crazy. The first son has to have children with the following wives so that the name of the big guy, the senior parent, the senior man who passed away lives on. Say, for example, the name Ajamo. So Ajamo passes away and he had 3 wives. So the first son from the first wife is going to have babies by the 2 other wives to make the Ajabo name go on. These children are then taught that this is not their father. Their brother is not their father, is still their brother.
Oh shit.
So yeah, they're born.
That's really weird.
That's
they are born.
Weird traditions.
It is weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
They're born, but they're born knowing. They're born, but they're born knowing they don't have a father. Their father passed away, and they even shown the grave. This is where your dad. This is where your dad is. This is where your dad is. This is your stepmom. These are your brothers, and even the man, the boy, the first son, who gave, birth to them, basically provided the seed or the continuation of the genes, is still their brother, and it is not to be mentioned. It is never to be brought up ever. It dies with the man who died. So the first son's responsibility. That's why in Africa the first son is given a lot of inheritance, because it comes with a lot more responsibility. He has to now take care of his younger brothers, take care of other wives, take care of cousins, and I don't know, whoever else is in the family homestead. So it's crazy, but I think it's fucking beautiful.
Yeah,
about to
I can
say,
add
if
on
I gotta
something.
take on,
I can add on something.
Go ahead.
On the point of Anna saying the older child taking care of the siblings. So now, as you notice, with time, a lot of things still kept on changing. Like there are times when African immigrants migrate into the West, and for some reason, when they fall out of these relationships, I've seen, like, for example, there was I think Nigerian descent. They grew up in the West, but they're originally from Nigeria. He took, I think that the older sister was suing the younger sister for something. I mean, the younger brother for money, is it? So now when they went to court, the younger brother was like, I just can't believe my sister is suing me for this, because you, as an older sister, you're not supposed to be suing me, your younger brother. You're supposed to be taking care of me. You're supposed to look out for me. He looked at it as being betrayed, because in the African culture, an older sibling is supposed to be like a protector for the younger siblings. So when you do things like that, it's like you're betraying the tradition of the African culture back at home. So
I was about to say, if I gotta take on my brother's wife and uphold those obligations, I'm gonna need some concubine services in return for my good deeds. Because I'm not doing that.
I mean, some get to some begin with some like kick off relationships with these women because why not? Their husband is dead anyway. Like the Maasais, guys, like the Maasais in Kenya, when they go hunting, when they go out hunting, because you know those guys, they go out hunting like for lions and stuff, just to be a man, right? So when they go hunting, they leave a spear in front of the homestay. So if any man within the area code walks around and sees a spear, he knows that the home is locked. That probably means the wife is pregnant. But most of the time, the warrior doesn't leave the spear. So any man within the homestead can come into the home, is allowed to come into the home and procreate.
And get them a piece.
Yes, give them a piece of that juice, that good. And it's okay. It's allowed. It's allowed. And you know, our men, our traditional men, like our proper African, leave these, you know, Yahoo boys and Google.com age. Our proper African traditional men have no problem with it. They completely understand it. It makes sense to them. It is what it is. It's
Where's
how
this
it's been.
again? I mean,
So what specifically?
Maasai, but
Yeah, the Maasai.
yeah,
okay.
But
The Maasai in Kenya.
Real quick. I want to say I appreciate you, Nich, man. I love this channel, bro. I've been in here, bro. You know, little co-host and do my thing, bro. So I learned a lot here today. But for me, I got a smooth walk up out of here, man. You know, I got some bills that need to be taken care of because that American dollar, it got to be done. Even if by hook or by crook, I gotta go get it, man. So
hey man,
I appreciate it.
we understand.
Anna, all y'all guys. I'm gonna have to smooth walk up out of here though, but you know, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. Do your thing. We'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, so Nich, we kind of digressed from the main topic, you know, but some of our brothers and sisters have already left. So how do we go on?
So no, I think it was still within scope because a lot of the conversation that we just had here was based on what was going on in the chat, and the dowry thing was a thing. Now I wasn't expecting us to go, you know, all in, but I'm glad that we did because I learned a lot. You know, there's a lot of stuff that I was ignorant to that I mean, Anna shed a lot of light on, you know, the whole that all of the ladies, Sheila, Muse, you know, it was important to hear from them on that. So, but with all of that being said, I do have one last question, and then we will wrap up because we've been on for 2 hours. So with that being said, what can we do, right, as a collective to move past our differences? Everything that we just addressed as far as us in the diaspora and our preconceived notions, whether positive or negative, on Africans, and then vice versa. With all of that being said, and even with the discussion on the dowry, what can we do as a collective to move past our differences and become more solution based to where we're moving on one accord as one unit on a unified front?
Okay, mental agility, do you want to go first or I could go?
Oh, you can take it.
All right, maybe you could add Chian. All right, he's here. Maybe Chian could speak first on the, because he didn't get a chance to speak on the perceptions, you know? Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
He's muted.
Oh, he's muted, but he also doesn't look like I don't know, his connection seems like it's off. All right, while he gets that together, I'm gonna just take him down real quick, and then you guys go ahead and.
All right. Okay. So I think I think this also came up in the last podcast where mental agility you're asking me about should the person who moves to the continent really adapt, to the cultures of the people he finds there, all right? So I think this comes down to respect and empathy. You have to try to put yourself in these people's shoes. These people are probably broke, they don't have a lot of money, they have different cultures. I think you just have to put yourself in their shoes, because when most Africans go to America, most of them, you might find them westernized. Anna talked about this. Someone becomes westernized. um, so it's more like adapting to the culture of the place, I mean, you go to, right? So I just feel like it comes down to empathy and respect. So if maybe you've seen so many YouTubers, especially, I think there's an American who goes to Africa to test the different foods of Africa. This guy tests the most weird ass trashy foods you can imagine, because I've seen this guy test the blood of a cow, like, so, like frozen blood. Because Africa, we have the wildest meats or the wildest foods. You remember someone was had a dog barking in the background, and that was dinner. So I mean, it all comes down to respect. Like, even we have a saying says, if you go to Rome, you do as the Romans do. So I just feel you have to adapt to what you find in the place. Try to respect, try to understand it. Don't act disgusted. Try to just be empathetic and go with the flow. Because of course it doesn't mean that you do the something you're uncomfortable with, but don't show the contempt, or the disgust whenever you're doing it, because to us it's a sign of disrespect, and we won't treat you like one of our tribes if you go on disrespecting us. So I mean, we already talked about these points, and I feel like that's the only way we are going to try to embrace each other. Trying to respect them. We might also try to be like them. If you go, you can dress like the locals, learn a language. So it's just trying to go with the flow, trying to adapt. Yeah.
All right.
I'll put out a disclaimer. If I'm eating the food and it's just like not hitting, I'll let it be known that I'm not here to disrespect, but at the same time, I'm adjusting. Because you say something about cow blood or blood in general, like, yo, that's just not an everyday thing for me. So just bear with me. That's all I would say. But go ahead, Mental.
All right. I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna let the lovely lady finish last. So, Nick, I have to ding you on this one. You done this word a disservice today. I hadn't heard it at all. So one thing I think that we can do to help the diaspora in the continent work together is bridging the gap. All right. Yeah, so we have to bridge the gap. We're in their country, so we have to adhere to their cultures, right?
Right.
But at the same time, I think the people on the continent, they have to understand that it might be some growing pains for us. So I think there needs to be patience on both ends. While we're learning your culture, maybe getting a better cultivation of our culture and understand why we tick or why we learn the way we learn and how we process things to get a better understanding of your culture. I think it'll be a great asset to both parties if we intertwine our cultures and learn from each other. But since we're on the motherland, that should be the spearhead of development between the diaspora and the continent.
All right. So Anna, also, by the way, I appreciate all of the information that you've given off today. Very, very just it was a lot. It was a lot, but definitely learning, and I appreciate your input. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and let you close out, and then we'll wrap.
First of all, thanks for everyone for having me. I know in the WhatsApp group I sounded a little bit opinionated, but I was just like testing the waters, to see what's up, how you guys vibe. So no offense to anyone who caught any. But with regards to what we've been talking about, I think even like holding spaces for such conversations is a very, very good place to start. Where we are open to hearing each other out and understanding where everyone is coming from. So we're not just always ranting and complaining about stuff without allowing ourselves, the space to actually converse and have these very, very necessary and important dialogues. Um, Also, you don't have to taste the food. Some of our food tastes really nasty, by the way. It's no lie. Some of our people cook with dirty water. Some of our people don't wash their hands. Some of our people are very illiterate. So there's all sorts of things. There's some African food I cannot dare put in my mouth. So like, don't even feel bad when you serve some trashy shit and you want to run away. That's okay. We also run away. However, maybe like Howard said earlier, just you can have that bombastic side eye when they give you something on your plate. That bombastic side eye. That's everything for us because, as we already know, in Africa, food is the number one reason for fellowship. We come together to eat. We sit together. We're very communal people. People love sharing a plate of food, a cup of tea. So it's okay to reject it, but just know it is always going to be offered in however disgusting proportions it comes in. Um, Apart from that, I don't know. I think it's cool. I think having these conversations is already good enough. And I feel so bad that someone like Kian wasn't, able to have a say because, I would like to hear from, our men more. Because, of course, to hold that voice of reason. But yeah, I don't think there's so much more I can add than I've already said. So
Well, I
thank
mean,
you.
on that, yeah, like I said, I appreciate your input. I think we all appreciate your input. Keon, am I saying his name right? Keon or Cheon? How
Kian, yeah, it's good.
okay. Yeah, I mean, his connection was it was off. So
African problems, African problems.
yeah. So I didn't want to say it, but
It's true.
so
It's the truth.
I mean, we're gonna have plenty more episodes where everyone will be able to speak their piece. But at the same time, you gotta like know how to jump in, if you will. You gotta jump in and make your point known and land that plane, and then let others do their thing. Because like I said on the last
And
episode,
maybe one more thing.
go
Sorry,
ahead, go ahead,
one
go
more
ahead, go ahead,
thing.
go ahead.
The African accent. ah, we have heavy tongues, we talk from our throats and our stomachs, and we use so much, nguvu, like, and I feel like that's maybe it's probably possibly another way that we might feel maybe a little bit less than most of other people because of the way we speak. We have a heavy mother tongue influence. Like you can hear most of us the way we speak. Some of our words are very are very heavy. And I find it funny too, extremely hilarious. People from Uganda, my country, some people from Kenya, we speak differently. So don't be surprised when you hear someone saying or speaking or using an English word in a different way. English is not our first tongue. It came on the ship. It came on
Mhm.
the ship with some of our grandparents. So,
Hmm.
we just learned it in class, man. So maybe
Yeah.
that's just like
One more thing. Yeah. One more thing. Yeah. So I've one more thing to clarify is that whenever you go to a new place and see different things, different cultures, it doesn't mean that whatever they are doing is wrong. I think that is a perception most people have that when you see something different from the norm yet you're used to, you find it negative, different, backward. I think that's the problem. That's the mentality we have. So maybe if you go to the US or Europe, you might find LGBTQ, right? Of course, us as Africans will see that as wrong or backward or really weird, you remember the thing about the eating a banana with a spoon? You remember, Nick? We'll find that hilarious. So it doesn't mean that it is wrong. It's just the way you do your things. And no offense to you, we shall laugh, we shall die laughing about it. And I think we have to be open-minded to accepting others, and so it's the same thing. When you come to Africa, this is the way they do things. Either adapt to them or starve, like you said. So I'm just saying
And
that,
pay dowry, pay dowry.
yeah,
Dowry,
so
we
it's
like
just
it.
an adaptation. It's just an adaptation, like so if you go to America and find yourself an American woman, get ready to fight, because these are fighters,
Yeah.
So it's just the way we do things. We have to adapt to whatever we find, and it doesn't mean that it is wrong. It's just the way they do their things. So that's one more thing to say.
I want to add, don't ever get it twisted. Us Americans, we find Africans speaking the American or the English language very attractive. It's there's nothing to be like ashamed of or anything. The way y'all roll your letters and things like that, it's very attractive. So like that's not a knock on y'all, So keep speaking the way
Clear.
you speak. It is totally fine.
Right. We
Yeah, you must be patient. Yeah, you must be really patient because on the last episode,
To understand.
you could see Nick's training to listen to our Nigerian brother. His accent is really deep and the way they
I
pronounce
was
their
just
things.
about to say, John, on the last episode, man, that because I was really trying to understand. And listen, my facial expressions gave me away, but I was really trying to like understand what he was saying. And for some of it I did, but for the most part, I was really struggling. But we let him have the floor and say what he had to say, because again, it's important to let folks and their voices be heard, whether they have a strong accent or not. Eventually the ear get trained. We'll adjust and we'll be able to foster that understanding. So yeah, this was
adapt or starve. Yeah,
adapt or starve. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So this was an awesome, more well structured
Yes, it was.
episode. The sound was on point for the most part. Yeah, but again, this is the second episode, so we're only going to get better. We're only going to get so much better. So I appreciate you guys coming through, and everyone else who was on the panel earlier and giving their opinions and facts and just overall input on the discussion. And we're going to continue to move forward and keep things popping. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and conclude and wrap, and we will see y'all on the next one.
Bridge the gap. Bridge the gap. Bridge the gap.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.